Hi, friends. This is your pal, Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons, and we're going to talk about the DM Bluddworth Shadowdark session, Shadowdark campaign launch. I think he would wrongly call it a one-shot. I believe every time you sit at the table, it's a campaign launch. That he ran at the Philadelphia Area Gaming Expo in January 2025. I was invited to play in this session, and I wanted to tell you today something I did not like. All right. Now, it might seem harsh that I'm saying, hey, I didn't like this. I didn't like this. I didn't like this. My take is that's not true, right? You know what? You know what I find is unkind? I think there were like 6 people at the table, right? I've done like 6, 7, maybe I could end up doing like 10 videos on this subject, right? I think it's worse to do nothing. In America, silence is much worse than saying, I don't like this thing. So that's my take. But each person's their own, right? So my point is, even though I'm saying I didn't like a lot of things about it, I'm very glad I got to play in this session because I learned a lot, right? Okay, all right, let's keep moving here. So what did DM's Bluddworth do in this Shadowdark session that I did not like? The phone glare. All right, so we had 7 people at the table. And that's because I was invited in because that table was full, right? So it's very important to remember. Everything I say, I don't like this, I don't like this, I don't like this. He was serving up the chili everybody wanted, right? Like, there wasn't even a ticket for me, right? He just, like, shoved me in, Actually, there was plenty of room, but because Philadelphia Area Gaming Expo has great tables. And really roomy tables. So there was room for me, but it was tight, right? So okay. So there's this female lady, and that's a big deal, right? We don't get many women, doing Dungeons and Dragons. They're definitely a minority. They've been a minority every single day Dungeons and Dragons has been run, right? There's never been a day, not a single one, where the majority of people playing Dungeons and Dragons were women. It's just never happened, right? So it's kind of rare to see women at the table. So there's this Texan woman at the table. Well, early on, about 35 minutes in, I think it was about the 35-minute mark, she picked up her phone, right? And I caught it, and she did too, right? It took her about 2-3 minutes, but DM Bloodsworth saw that she was using her phone, right? So he gave her the phone glare, right? Now, to his credit, he didn't call her out. He didn't embarrass her. But he was like silent and kept his mouth like even and looked at her like, what are you doing using your phone, right? Now, why was DM Bluddworth 100% wrong to do this, right? He had absolutely no right to say, to give her the phone glare. Oh, you can't use your phone. We're playing Shadowdark. You literally have to use your phone, right? You could go to Kelsey Dion's website. Kelsey Dion, she creates it. Try to order Shadowdark right now on the creator's website. Oh, sorry, it's back order. Can't get a print copy. Sorry, it's back order. Can't print it. Man, oh man. She's got to hire her Brian Bloom, okay? Like, Kelsey, don't do the Gary Gygax. You think you can do the creative and you think you can do the commercial? You can't. Your book's out of print. Get it in print. Print 100,000 copies and be done with it, right? Like, come on, right? So because Kelsey Dion is not a good commercial runner of Shadowdark, every single person who sits at a Shadowdark session has every right to stare at their phone for 100% of the game. No one gets to phone glare anyone at a Shadowdark table, right? You could do that at a Dungeons & Dragons table because Dungeons & Dragons is real. They print their books and you can find them on the shelf at Target, right? Okay? But if you're playing Shadowdark, don't you dare shame anyone for having their phone out for 100% of the game, right? Because the primary distribution of Shadowdark is PDF, right? So I know you a bunch of grognards out there running this OSR, but guess what? If you're running Shadowdark, everybody gets to have their phone out 100% of the time. They don't even need to look you in the eye, right? Now, when will that end? When Kelsey Dion learns to print There you go, right? I will not get off this subject, right? Like, it is a major problem that Shadowdark has not been in print. And the reason why, and here's why. I believe Kelsey Dion the D&D killer already arrived, and it desiccated. It dried up, and it blew away in the wind. One, because Kelsey Dion did not print even remotely to demand, okay? And that's her fault. That is her fault. And I think she is a Gary echo. Gary did the same nonsense. He thought he could handle the creative, and he thought he could handle the commercial. That is not true for any tabletop role-playing game in the world. You need the Gary, and you need a shrivel-hearted, tooth and claw financial dude or woman, right? Get them in there, right? And I know you guys don't like bean counters, but you gotta print, especially if you're running an OSR. You gotta print. You gotta print, all right? So this is absurd. I really think this is really out there, right? And the reality is, this is wild. DM's Bluddworth had absolutely no right to shame her, right? To do his little phone glare. The game's on PDF, right? Like, there's 100 times more PDFs that are out there than print books. I have literally never seen Shadowdark on a shelf, not once, right? So if that's the state of your game, don't you dare allow any Shadowdark Dungeon Master to phone shame anyone, right? You know who gets to phone shame? Real Dungeon Masters who play the real Dungeons and Dragons, which is really in print for realsies. And not just at the FLGS, Target, right? Like real muggle shops, right? Like it's on the shelf, right? And get this, and this is a problem because Kelsey Dion, not only can she not even remotely handle the weight to get onto a Target shelf, she can't even get onto FLGS shelves. Right? I got 3. I have no less than 5 FLGSs around me. I go to them once a week. I have never seen Shadowdark on a shelf ever anywhere. Right? That's on Kelsey's shoulders, and it's got to get fixed. And until it does, don't you dare run Shadowdark and ever phone shame anyone. They have every right to never even look you in the eye and spend the entire time on their phone. And what are they looking at on your phone? None of your freaking business. Right? If you want to be able to phone shame somebody, play a real game. It's called Dungeons & Dragons. Every single word you just heard is my humble opinion. The important part is every single word you heard in this video is my humble opinion. The important part is when I get to hear your humble opinion. When you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider subscribing, and have a fetch millennium.